Seahawks fans, wherever you may be. Thanks for listening to the show. Join your hosts, Bill Alvstad and Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football. Hey, hi, Seahawks fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down with co-host Keith Myers. We're here to talk Seahawks football. Got a good show for you today, taking on the Vikings preview show. Vikings come in at 4-7. Seahawks are 8-3. Seattle basically attempts to stay even with the Rams in the NFC West, or we're just behind, obviously, so that we can go into that matchup with the Rams, Keith, and have a chance to win that game and hopefully pull out in front. You mentioned right before we push record, we don't know exactly where the tiebreakers are on that. I'm sure it'll change within the next couple of weeks. It doesn't really matter right now anyway. Welcome in, Keith. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, definitely lots to talk about. A lot going on, and an interesting game this week. We'll see how everything plays out. So a lot to talk about.
So Seahawks made a couple of moves recently. I think both of them became official today. Seahawks are signing running back Cam Akers to their roster. Apparently George Holani is injured and his status is unknown. Potentially could land on IR. Don't know for sure. Seahawks added Patrick O'Connell and Shaquille Griffin to the roster as of today. Signed Quandre Diggs, familiar name, safety Quandre Diggs, to the practice squad. Julian Love nor Eric Saubert were designated to return to practice today, so not a great sign for them to return this week. Ernest Jones' status is still up in the air, although Tyrese Knight is good to go, I think, this week. That's kind of the breakdown on the injury front. Yeah, I think that we've got enough to kind of go into this game. For the Vikings, starting left tackle Christian Darrisaw and left guard Donovan Jackson left the Packers game with injuries and did not return. Their status is unknown. Jonathan Grenard, their edge rusher, has been out the last couple of games. I don't know if he'll be back for this game. But Dallas Turner, his primary backup, has just had increased reps and has been playing pretty well. That's it for the kind of the injury updates. Of course, we're still waiting for the official word on McCarthy, their quarterback. And it's unlikely that he is able to go. And so you're looking at Max Brosmer, his first official start in the NFL as an undrafted rookie free agent for them this offseason. It's a lot to handle when you got the Seahawks defense that you're going to be facing. So anyway, let's just talk about the general idea of this game. What are your thoughts overall heading into this week?
Well, I mean, I look at this and you pointed to where Seattle's main advantage lies, and that's its defense against an offense that it has been struggling, and there's no reason to think it's not going to continue to struggle. Whether it be McCarthy or Bosmer, it doesn't really matter that much. They've struggled. I mean, Carson Wentz was in there for a while, but he's on IR now. They brought in John Wolford to be the backup. He's on the practice squad, but he'll be the backup and or emergency quarterback depending on McCarthy's status for this game. And then the offensive line, it has been banged up. I have a hard time figuring out where offense is going to come from, except for, they still have Justin Jefferson, who's still an elite player. Jordan Mason's been pretty good this year as he's slowly, taken over and it's now his job over Aaron Jones. And so, it's been for them, that's kind of a year where things are in transition. They're hoping to be better offensively, but they just aren't. And so there's a lot of reason for us to think that Seattle's defense is going to come in and dominate this game.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the DVOA stuff is concerned, the Vikings offense is ranked 29th. Seattle's defense is ranked 3rd. Seattle's defense is ranked 18th, or excuse me, the Vikings defense is ranked 18th. The Seahawks offense is ranked 4th. So there's definitely an imbalance on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It starts up front. Their offensive line is banged up. Protections have been an issue for them. You can have, all the weapons you want in Addison and Jefferson, but if you can't get them the ball, that's going to be a problem. And they're also having issues running the ball. Their run offense, however, is 10th overall, but Seattle's run defense is superb in the top 5. So the matchups really don't work, in their favor in this game. Of course, any opponent that Seattle's going to face, other than maybe the Rams, are going to kind of look like this on paper anyway. I would think that the Titans' approach to moving the ball against the Seahawks is probably Minnesota's best bet. Just incrementally move the ball, try to pick up, good yardage on first and second down by running the ball, and then have short yardage opportunities that you can convert all the way down the field. And you're not going to succeed, I don't believe, with Brosmer or McCarthy throwing the ball over the top of Seattle's defense. And so you're going to have to methodically try to move the ball mistake-free, while somehow keeping Seattle's pass rush away from pressuring their quarterback, whoever it may be. And it's just not a great formula, but it's the only one you've got. And so that's kind of the nature of the beast. And for Seattle, I think it's important, their defense isn't horrible. Minnesota's defense overall ranks 18th, but against the run, they're 14th. Against the pass, they're 20th. Obviously, there's some opportunities there, but their pass rush is pretty good. Their defensive line stacks up pretty well in the NFL overall. I'd say a top 10 overall defensive front. But their back end, their safeties, their corners are susceptible. And teams have been getting after them with total yardage and red zone opportunities and so forth. So I think as long as Seattle protects Sam Darnold good enough, as long as Seattle runs the ball effectively and with purpose and volume, and kind of controls the tempo in this game, that's going to be the key for Seattle. What are your thoughts?
Well, I look at this and I'm like, you're saying that Tennessee's method for moving the ball of, just trying to have these long sustained drives of picking up third downs and all of that. How many of those plays though were made because of Cam Ward's ability to run the football and extend plays and really push Seattle's linebackers to make a choice between covering and coming up and making a play. And McCarthy and Bosmer, they don't have that ability. They don't have that talent. And so I question whether even that is an approach that can be used. Because without
okay,
Ward's,
so where do you see any possibility?
Ward, I see what they're going to end up trying to do is just get the ball to guys like Jefferson quickly. A lot of bubble screen kind of things, really short throws, not throwing the ball downfield, and hoping that their talent that's on the outside, because that is where they have talent, can get some yards after the catch. Because if you try and drop McCarthy or Bosmer back, straight back, and ask them to, drop back, deal with the pressure and deliver a ball down the field, that's not asking them to be successful. That's setting them up to fail. And so it really looks like, they're going to have to just focus on trying to get the ball out really quickly. And so having the defenders up in some sort of press coverage that's where if you can do that, you can disrupt the timing and you can disrupt them within the first 5 yards. I really think you're going to make life really difficult for this offense to do much of anything.
Okay. On the other side of the ball, we're facing a team coached by Mike Flores, defensive coordinator, that is the highest rated blitzing defense in the league. Success rate and pressure rate are one thing, but he blitzes more than any other defense in the NFL. And believe it or not, Sam Darnold is the second ranked quarterback under pressure in the NFL. And I did not know that before this game. But Flores blitzes at 57%.
That's
and
yeah. That's a lot of blitzing. That's a lot to ask because that sets up a lot of one-on-one blocking with guys like Bradford that miss and just whiff on a lot of blocks and not giving him an opportunity to, have help. On the other hand, before you, really look at that, that also creates a lot of space behind the line. For things like quick slants, for the tight ends over the middle, opportunities for Darnold to get the ball out of his hands quickly before the pressure can get to him and have opportunities to make some plays because you bring extra guys. That means the zones that the guys behind them have to cover just become significantly larger and you can't cover everyone. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where I would be leery of dropping or blitzing too often against the Seattle team because of the fact that they've got tight end talent and they've got wide receiver talent. You've got a guy like JSN who can get open at any level at any point. It's not like he's a guy that only wins down the field. He can win anywhere and get open. So you've got to cover him going inside, going outside, and you have to do it with no help, no zone. That's hard. That's going to be almost impossible to do if you are an opposing cornerback. So, but if you can get to Darnold, if you can get pressure on him, we saw against the Rams what happens when he gets pressured a lot, and things really broke down. Yes, he's one of the best under pressure. You start looking at his stats and that kind of stuff when there is pressure. Overall, he's been great, but he's only been getting pressured like 8 times a game or 11 times a game. You know what I mean? Like he isn't under pressure much. And so it's different. When he was under pressure constantly against the Rams, that was when things got kind of ugly. And so we'll see
that's
a little bit about
this game could get a little squirrely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings are second highest pressure rate in the NFL at 40.6 behind Seattle. Seattle's only played one other defense that's ranked in the top 10, and that's Tampa Bay, who was at 4th. Now, you can say what you want about the Rams and their pressure and so forth, but it was really, Tampa that gave him some issues, but he was able to overcome those in that game. The Rams, for whatever reason, disrupted them enough. Plus, their back end, I think, is a little better than Tampa Bay's. Minnesota's back end, their corners and so forth aren't as good. I would anticipate, for me, looking at this, even if they were to pressure at 40%, which I think is unlikely against Seattle's offensive line, I really think Seattle's offensive line is a little better than that. That Sam's going to be able to find some opportunities to get Jaxon-Smith and Njigba the ball, and Barner and running backs out of the backfield. Even Cooper Kupp in this game could have, and Shaheed could have some opportunities because that quick hitting stuff is in Seattle's repertoire, and they do a pretty good job of it. And yards after catch against some of those weapons is pretty dangerous. But I mean, I would anticipate Minnesota blitzing on nearly every down, at least every obvious passing down, because that's what they do.
Yeah. Expect them to, if you get into 3rd and long, they're going to bring at least 5 people, maybe 6. It's going to happen all the time. But you know it's coming. There will be no surprise. And so it's just a matter of making sure you're ready for it. Having, the tight end in there so you can make sure that they're ready to block, to have a running back next to the quarterback to pick up a blitzer if they come and that kind of stuff, and making sure that you've got hot routes set up so that way if they bring the house, Darnold can stick his foot in the ground and throw it over, right over the top of the blitz and to that void right behind it.
Yeah.
And if they have that, I just go with, I look at the secondary and I go, what part of this group of talent suggests that you should be blitzing really heavily? Because I don't see guys here that I would trust on an island because you brought the house.
No. I mean, Byron Murphy's their best corner, and that's it. Isaiah Rodgers on the other side. Yeah. We're familiar with Murphy. He played with Arizona prior. He's having a pretty decent season, but that's really all they've got. I will say this too. The Vikings are just a hair better than the Titans are on their offensive line. They're 30th. The Titans ranked 30th in the NFL under pressure, and Minnesota's offensive line ranks 28th. And also Seattle's tough to run against. Minnesota's 1-5 when they run for 100 yards or less, and it's not going to happen against Seattle unless they just bust one. And I see them playing from behind most of this game, and so it's just one of those things where Seattle goes in, takes care of business. To me, this is a game where you can kind of really take care of the clock, take care of business, and have this game put away, by the 3rd quarter. Especially with a rookie quarterback coming in, it's like, oh my goodness, that would be not good.
Yeah, because the teams that are able to frustrate Seattle are the ones that can run the ball, even if they're not like super successful at it all the time, but they can run it enough to keep the linebackers from dropping back into their zones really quickly, and then getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands on the short routes created by the fact that you've been able to stall the linebackers. You do things like that. And then also, Cam Ward, his ability to extend plays and get the ball to, receivers and stuff 6 seconds after the play starts because of, his ability to move around and the threat for him to run. Like those are the things that created success. The only other team that's had like major success offensively against Seattle was, Tampa. And that game is just an outlier, right? They couldn't cover anyone because everyone was hurt. And for some reason they couldn't get pressure at all, even though those guys were healthy in their offensive line. It was just such a weird, conflagration of mistakes and poor play.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really use that game as a reference point for much, but those are the only teams that have had success offensively against Seattle. You've either had Seattle have to play a really bad game, or you've got to have a quarterback that can extend plays and create opportunities, because Seattle's going to win that matchup within the normal framework of an offense. They just are.
Yeah, and I'm having a hard time understanding how Brosmer is going to be effective on the road in a hostile environment against this defense.
Yeah.
When they're just not a good team this year. They've had some setbacks, they've had some injuries, guys are aging a little bit that they have had that have been successful. Their offensive line is worse. The kid that they brought in, that everyone was clamoring for Seattle to bring in. I can't remember his name now. Freeze. He's like the eighth worst guard ranked in the NFL as far as allowing pressure.
Yeah. I mean,
he's just they're just not that good, and I think Seattle really just needs to take care of business, and they're going to be fine. It's one of those games. It's a trap game. It's kind of like the Titans game. It's I don't blame them. Seattle's looking forward a little bit. They've got the Colts game circled. They've got the Rams game circled. There's just no doubt, but I think that the nice thing about Mike Macdonald is he's just an OBS guy that's not going to allow his team to not be ready for a game, especially in a year where they kind of still control their own destiny, and all they need to do is kind of win, and things will take care of themselves. If they start losing, especially stupid games, at the first of December, against teams they should beat, that's when this team might not be ready for prime time, but I think they are.
So, one of the big stories in this game is the fact that Sam Darnold was Minnesota's quarterback last year and looked outstanding all year until the last game of the season and the playoff game, when the Rams were all over him and sacked him a ton, put him under pressure a lot, intercepted him a bunch, just really made him look bad. And after the reports all were that they were going to, the plan was to sign Darnold long term and put McCarthy up as a potential trade option. And then the last two games where Darnold stumbled led them to not do that and to let Sam Darnold come to Seattle and run with JJ McCarthy. And so the comparison between these two quarterbacks is going to be the story, and you're going to hear about it all game from the announcers. And it really doesn't matter in which statistical direction you look at this. Sam Darnold has been the better quarterback in every possible facet of the game. And I just wanted to get your take. If they had kept Sam Darnold, Seattle would have been in the running for trading for McCarthy. That's one of those things that didn't happen. So, how much, I'm sure you looked into this, just how different, how much is the difference the drop off from Sam Darnold to McCarthy?
Well, it's huge, and there's a couple of factors. It's like there's some good examples of quarterbacks that have been very successful after being under a very successful quarterback for 2 or 3 years, and I think that even in their own division, they lost sight of this. So Green Bay is the latest example where they had Love sitting behind Rodgers for 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you want to get Love out there. You want to see what you've got, but also Rodgers. And there's some tension there, right? It is what it is. I think they had a great opportunity for McCarthy to sit behind Darnold. He signed Darnold for another 2-year extension, similar dollars to what Seattle's paying, and you have solved your issue for short term and long term. I think they made a huge mistake in allowing Sam Darnold to leave. Of course, it's all 2020, hindsight 2020, but I think a different GM may have had a different resolution to that situation. You know, if you take a look at those 2 games that Sam, quote unquote, underperformed in at the end of last year, one was completely out of his control. That Rams game where they sacked him 9 times. Come on. There were a couple of sacks there that were his, and the other ones were just sheer pressure and coverage. And the Rams is a tough team. And then the Lions game is kind of 50-50. And you can't put all of that on Sam. And again, I think that they made a mistake. I think there is a big drop off. McCarthy's just shown and this year, what has he been played in 4 or 5 games? You know, he's less than 60% completion, hasn't been able to make big plays. He had one game where I think he came back and had a nice drive to kind of win. But other than that, he's really struggled. And again, I will point to their offensive line. Their offensive line is not great and even worse this year than it was last year. And you're throwing McCarthy into that. I don't think it's really completely fair. Now Brosmer, if McCarthy doesn't play because he's in concussion protocol. Sam went into the ideal situation, a franchise that's really well run, a great coaching situation, a brand new coordinator that was ideally suited for his skill set. And it just all came together, I think, for Sam Darnold and for the Seahawks. And Seattle was ascending, ready to kind of take that next step. And he was the perfect quarterback to do that. Now, is he the perfect quarterback for 2, 3, 4, 5 years? I think time will tell. I think, you know, as this season plays out and as games get more important, can he win those games? Can he be the guy that can close out games? At the end, can he win a game on a game-winning drive? We haven't seen a lot of opportunities yet because Seattle's been so dominant early in games. So there's still some proof, I think, that Sam is the long-term guy. And I hope it plays out in his favor and Seattle's got their long-term answer and we go deep into the playoffs and possibly a Super Bowl. But yeah, Seattle won that deal for sure. Yeah, and I don't know that Geno Smith necessarily completely moves on unless they already know from talking to people, sources, other general managers, his agent, whether or not Sam was going to be available or not, because I think that was really kind of the key.
It happened in a couple of days. They traded Geno and then went and like the report was the moment that they traded Geno that the Seahawks had moved on to Sam Darnold and Sam Darnold was signed within 48 hours.
But if you remember, it was right. Geno was traded right before free agency tampering period started that weekend before. So like a Friday, right? Mm-hmm. And then tampering started Monday at 8 a.m. or whatever it was. So there was a couple days there where you couldn't talk to anybody, but also I'm sure they did.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at a bunch of stuff on passes, deep passes, 20 plus yards downfield, where that's air yards, right? Sam Darnold is the best in the league, right? He's thrown 40 balls at least 20 yards downfield. He's completed 26 of them, which is 65% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. Like you just go down all of the things. he's been the best at the NFL throwing deep. A couple guys have been close, Sam Bradford, Drake May, but no one has done what Sam does. JJ McCarthy, of the guys that have enough passing attempts to qualifying, has been the worst in the league. He's been the 50th best quarterback at throwing the ball deep. He's got 5 completions out of 22 attempts, and 1
And
touchdown,
you've got
5
Addison
in,
and
5
you've got
interceptions.
Jefferson there.
And you've got Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and even Adam Thielen, who's not the guy he used to be because he's definitely showing age, but he's still, a savvy vet and all of that. You've got a lot of talent on the outside, and he's not
and
doing
Hawkinson as well.
anything down the field. Now, part of that's the defensive line, the offensive line and those struggles. But you've got tremendous talent on the outside, and you're doing nothing down the field. Whereas Seattle's got, you got JSN, who's the best receiver in the league, but they're not getting production out of anybody other than JSN. And yet Sam Darnold is still statistically the best in the NFL at throwing the ball downfield. So just that alone,
and in this game in particular for Sam.
Oh yeah. This game,
and facing
this is a
Minnesota defense, it's going to continue for Sam. It's going to continue. It's like they are, according to DVOA, defending wide receiver number 1, 26th in the league, defending wide receiver number 2, 23rd in the league, defending tight ends, 20th in the league. Sam Darnold is going to eat this defense up, even with the blitzing, because I think our offensive line is decent enough. And if Sam can get the ball out in 2.5, 2.7 seconds, I don't think there's going to be an issue.
And he's averaging 2.86, which is pretty good. I don't see who in that secondary is going to be able to cover JSN.
Nobody can cover JSN. Nobody has been able to cover JSN.
Nobody's covered him all year, even though they've played some really good corners. That's why he's so far out in front of everybody in terms of, every stat. But this particular group, I don't see who in there, even if they double team him on every play, he's going to be open. This just isn't a great secondary. And the fact that they blitz so much means they won't be able to double team him. And if they make the commitment to put a safety on him on every play, along with the corner, everybody else, like Shaheed,
we've seen this movie before.
Yeah, and Cup, those guys, and Barner, those guys are going to eat. And then of course they're going to have to rebalance what they do. And then once they try and bring a balanced defense against Seattle, now you're back to covering JSN with single coverage and a safety help occasionally, and we've seen that every game, and it's never worked because he just absolutely destroys coverages. So
this is where I think the Seattle offense and our offensive coordinator and Sam Darnold and the ability to just be patient and take what the defense gives you and running up the same formations time after time to the line of scrimmage eventually wears out a defense, and you're going to have to pick and choose areas that you want to cover. Players that you want to cover. I mean, AJ Barner's been really successful lately, 7 catches, 10 catches. And Njigba is unstoppable. We haven't even really seen Shaheed come in and have an impact game yet. Cooper Kupp has been just, average, but also he's got opportunities as well. I just think that, and Arroyo really hasn't had, too much of an impact yet. I'm waiting for him to kind of have a breakout game. So Sam has other weapons in addition to Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet out of the backfield. there's just a lot of opportunity here to take advantage of their defense, take advantage of the aggression that they have. I'm really kind of curious as to how Seattle game plans that aspect of this. A very aggressive defense. What can Seattle do to beat that? Are they going to run a bunch of screens? Are they going to run some bubble stuff? Running backs out of the backfield? Are the tight ends going to be more involved? Quick hitting slants, etc. I'll be very interested to see how Seattle kind of comes up and takes advantage of that.
So another storyline that I'm seeing, not so much out of Seattle, but out of Minnesota, is because Justin Jefferson has been the best receiver in the league for the last 4 or 5 years, until this year. And it's always like every year there's the question. It's like, ooh, is Evans now the number one receiver? Like, has he over? And then the following year, of course, he drops off, and Justin Jefferson's still there. Um, and so the comparison of JSN to Jefferson, um, and I'm going through and I'm looking like statistically. I'm sorry, but you're not going to find a statistical measure in which JSN is not the best receiver in the NFL this year. You aren't. Um, and just like the rate at which he gets open, the contested catch rate, the um, win rate down the field, the ability to get open early in routes, just anything that anyone's been keeping stats on and trying to find, put numbers on this. He is number one in every single category. And I was a little surprised. Jefferson's been, seventh, eighth, sixth, in a lot of these categories. It's almost like it feels like he's dropped off a little bit. But if you're in Minnesota, you aren't buying it.
Yeah, but look at who's throwing. Look at who's throwing to him, though.
I know, and I look at that and I go, all of that's true. But there is an interesting dynamic here in that you've got the guy who, just like I said, I think he's underappreciated. Justin Jefferson is. I think he's an underappreciated wide receiver because of where he plays. And he's widely viewed as one of the top receivers in the NFL. But now you look at honestly, like, JSN is decided that this is no longer a debate. And he is now the guy. There is nobody having a better year than him in any statistical measure, like anything. EPA per play, net, what was it? Net yards over average. Like, just pick something, and you're going to find JSN is number one on all of them.
You flip those players, though. Justin Jefferson on the Seahawks roster, you put JSN on Minnesota's roster this year, I think you'd see a similar dynamical shift. I think,
maybe.
It's hard to overcome sometimes poor quarterback play. I mean, dude, right? The time of possession, the drive killers, all the things that your quarterback could be responsible for. And I think we'll see firsthand, like, a diminished situation. Like, I don't see a guy like Justin Jefferson having over 100 yards in this game, or an Addison. As long as Seattle plays disciplined football, keeping their guys in front of them, I think in order for Justin Jefferson to really have an impact in this game, he'd have to have like over 10 catches, which is possible, but it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult for them. And it's a difficult season, and he's still top 10. It's one of those.
He's a fantastic player. Like I said, I think he's underappreciated around the league. I think he's, like I said, every year it's like there's excitement about somebody new, whether it was Jamar Chase 3 years ago and it's JSN this year or whatever. But the conversation is always, are they better than Justin Jefferson? And most years the answer is no. This year I think it's yes. But as a receiver room as a whole, would you rather have Seattle's room that has JSN, the ghost of Cooper Kupp, and some unproven guys, or would you rather have Minnesota's room that is Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Jordan Addison, and just the
That's
talent?
interesting. I mean, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, that combo, Keith, on Seattle's roster with Sam Darnold, I think would be a better room than Cooper Kupp and JSN. But here's the situation with Seattle. You're going to have JSN, and then you're going to have 2 or 3 receivers every year competing to be, 2, 3, and it probably won't really even matter that much. JSN's that good. As long as we have a quarterback that's going to be able to throw the ball and get the ball out to him, he's going to be in the conversation as being one of the best wide receivers in the league. Now, Cooper Kupp's at the end, right? If he comes back next year, I would be surprised. Kind of level of play this year. Nothing wrong, not doing anything wrong. He's just not who he used to be. I would love to have Jordan Addison. I mean, if we had a player of that caliber to combine with JSN,
to have a true number 2.
Yeah. And I think that's what we'd probably be looking for in the offseason. You kind of want to upgrade that opportunity. You've got Sam Darnold, great quarterback, able to get the ball out to your weapons, and you've got JSN, and then what? It's like, and then you're really kind of digging into your tight end room as far as like your true number 2 receiving talent. And
the true number 2 this year has been
in the offseason. You've got to upgrade that. Yeah. You've got to upgrade the wide receiver room in Seattle. So that question is kind of loaded. Yeah, I'd take their wide receiver room, but not for long, not long term. I think long term, I think JSN Seattle with JSN is the way to go.
Yeah. Take JSN over any player, but the fact that they are 2.5 players deep, and Seattle is 1 player deep at wide receiver. And it's not like okay, we have to give up, if we're just making that trade, you have to give up JSN, which is like, awful. But you get Justin Jefferson back. So it's not like, you know what I mean? You're still getting an absolutely elite game-breaking player. That's why I asked that question, because it really comes down to what you get is Jordan Addison over Cooper Kupp. And reality is Adam Thielen and Cooper Kupp are essentially at the same level right now. So you get Jordan Addison over Shaheed. Like, I'd take that any day.
Right. And too, JSN is looking like seriously one of the best dudes, one of the best teammates. Tremendous character. So you add all those things into it's like, I don't even know if I would take Jefferson back, because I just don't know the player, the human, as much as you've seen JSN just kind of fit into what the Seahawks are and the identity. I think that I keep what I've got, and I just really try to build around JSN. Like I think that'll probably want to be one of the big priorities in the offseason as far as improving the offense. Yeah, we're going to take a look at center. We're going to take a look at right guard. Those conversations are going to be had, right? But the upgrade at wide receiver is going to be probably the number 1 conversation in the offseason on the offensive side of the ball. And what do you do with Ken Walker? Do you re-sign Ken Walker?
Yeah.
Is he worth it? What kind of a contract can we give Ken Walker to keep him in town? He's not the number 1 ranked running back in the NFL. He's probably not even the number 10 ranked running back in the NFL. And does he fit this scheme? And so you kind of have those. Does he get paid like a top 10 guy? I don't know. I mean, do you pay a 1,000-yard running back top 10 money in today's NFL? I'm not sure.
No, you don't, because 1,000 yards was a big deal when it was a 14-game season. 1,200 yards was more the the boundary when it is a 16 game season, and we haven't really established what it is for the 17 game season. Probably 1250. So 1,000-yard runner is not an elite runner. Now, granted, the game's changed, and most teams don't run the
And
ball
he's
as
on
often.
pace for just over 1,000 yards.
Yeah. And I don't know. He's still really dynamic as a runner, and I love him. And I think with a better blocking situation at center and right guard, you'd see him really look special. But I don't know. I just look at I think he still has a lot in the tank if he can stay healthy. And so, but I'm not for paying running backs. Like, I'm just not. I mean, there are very few guys.
I'd give him a 1-year deal. I'd give him a $5 million 1-year deal.
Sure, why not?
But I'm not going to pay him. And I would, you go get somebody in the draft, and obviously we have like 3 or 4 picks in the draft that we're going to have to be very selective. And I don't think that you draft a running back. So I'm not sure.
Which is why at this point my brain says you re-sign him, give him a 1-year $5 million fully guaranteed deal to come in and be the number 1 for 1 more year and just kick the can down the road, because you're not spending a draft pick on a running back when you've only got 4 picks in the draft. Not when you need a wide receiver that can contribute right away.
So I mean,
not when you need a guard.
Would you be really
right
pissed? Would you be really pissed if they gave him a 2-year, $15 million deal?
That's a little on the excessive side, but again, when I think they're going to need that cap room in other places, but it's only 2 years, right? How much of year 2 is guaranteed?
Yeah.
How much of it is signing bonus? Like, can they get out of?
I would give him that deal, even though I think it's excessive. I would give him that deal because of the situation that you described. You're not going to draft one with low draft capital, and it's only a 2-year deal, and second year you can manipulate numbers, and we'll probably be shocked that that's the number. That's where he's going to come in at. It's probably going to be higher than what we think it is. Just because salaries are going up everywhere, and he's viewed around the league as a dynamic guy, albeit often injured, but we'll see. All right. Anything else before we head out?
No, I think we've exhausted every single angle of this game. We have not done predictions before we head out.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to get your predictions.
Predictions. Yeah. I'm going to say 27-17.
Okay.
And 17 is being generous. I don't know how they're going to score with their rookie quarterback.
Yeah. The numbers that came into my mind were 28-13. So a 15-point victory. So yeah, we're in the same range. This should be a game that Seattle walks away with. Having a rookie quarterback, whether it be, McCarthy's technically not a rookie, but he didn't play a single down, wasn't available in a single game as a rookie. But whether it be him or Bosmer, and you're coming into Seattle with the 12s and how loud that stadium is, and you're going to ask them to do all the things that they need to do in an area where they can't communicate with their own linemen at any point, like even in the huddle. Seattle's going to win this game. They are, hands down.
Vegas has got this at like 10.5 points.
Oh, I saw it more than that.
Oh, really?
I saw it at 11.5. At 11.5 when it opened, and I thought I saw it go to 12. Maybe it's come back down.
Okay.
Maybe teams are looking at
I can't remember. I can't remember where I saw that. I think I just saw that number this morning, but I could be wrong. All right. Find Keith on Blue Sky, Twitter, at Myers NFL. You can find me at NWC Hawk. All the other good stuff. So we'll come back after the game, Sunday or Monday, and we'll have a chat about it and about where we're at.
Absolutely.
So until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NWSeahawk, Keith is at Myers NFL, and the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.